All right, we're back. Apologies for going radio silent, podcast silent.
Did we go podcast silent for a little bit?
For a couple weeks there,
It.
It's been a busy month here in BlueStar.
Life gets in the way sometimes.
When is it not busy in BlueStar world?
Maybe if we made millions of dollars doing this, we would not miss.
That's a good point. I mean,
like if we were Rogan or you name the top.
Yeah, if they were like monstrous
podcast
stakes, if in us not doing an episode or having a rerun here and there, but
right.
I can't say that it's not going to happen maybe a couple more times over the next few weeks. I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try to get some good guests and stuff lined up, but that's just how it goes sometimes, But we want to give you good stuff.
That's right.
In the
we're not going to just put stuff out there.
Takes time, right?
That's right.
Except today we're kind of just putting something out there.
Oh no, we got good stuff.
But no, it's another return to our installment of The Pulse.
Dun, dun, dun.
Our intermittent series where we sound off and riff about interesting news, lists, surveys, hot topics, water cooler conversations. Pieces. Yes. So today we got a litany of interesting topics. We're going to be talking about space, about the moon. We'll be talking about websites. We're going to talk about hardworking cities.
Yes.
Films, because I love to talk about movies, so I'll take it.
I'll let you riff on that.
I'll take an opportunity to do that anytime I can. We're going to talk about the mall.
Yes.
We're going to talk about what Gen Z's up to.
Oh.
How much it costs to raise a kid. And we're going to talk about cigarettes.
We got everything covered.
We got a little bit of everything going on.
Are we talking Coachella or anything cool like that?
No, I probably should have, but I feel like I was out of the Coachella conversation. Like I heard
all I saw was Madonna,
stuff,
and that's all I needed to see. I'm like, no, I'm done. I mean, anyway,
she's got a new album coming out. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I can't say that it's going to be high on my list. It's just.
Is that going to make your mixtape?
I sincerely. I mean, I'm always open to surprise. Right. We all loved Madonna back in the day. Who knows? Like, anybody can have a late career resurgence,
really,
and do something. Yeah,
I'm okay with that. But it's just the way. Anyway, dressing like a 20-year-old when you're 70 is just different.
Well, hey, that's all. May we all feel bold enough to do that in our 70s.
May we all? I don't know. Okay.
I'm John Martin.
I'm Dean Reverman.
Welcome to BlueStar Nation. BlueStar Nation podcast is brought to you by ELO. Hang on, let me get the movie theater, movie trailer voice. We're going to be talking about movies today. So
Got okay.
In a world where technology evolves rapidly, your customer's legacy POS infrastructure may be silently holding their business back. Help them future-proof with ELO's flexible open platform.
Wow, that was good.
Were you going to do
I was trying to do some cool sound effects for you there, like little dun-dun.
I apologize. I should have.
I'm not John Williams though.
That's true.
Sorry.
We'll get better at this. We'll keep doing it.
Please go on.
Which I'm sure is exactly what ELO wants.
That's right.
This advertising opportunity. Well, ELO's enterprise-grade hardware platform provides the modern foundation that retailers need, delivering standardized architecture with an open compatibility across today's leading software solutions and tomorrow's innovations. ELO's modular approach. We love the modular approach.
We do.
Seamlessly integrates emerging technologies while maintaining enterprise-wide consistency, eliminating the proprietary constraints that have historically locked retailers in outdated ecosystems. By transitioning customers to ELO's flexible platform, you're not just upgrading their hardware, you're future-proofing their entire technology strategy.
We like that.
With a solution designed to evolve alongside consumer expectations and market demands. I keep doing the movie theater voice at the beginning of this.
Yes.
But that's not really a thing anymore. Like,
wait.
Narration and like that kind of opening.
The voice of God is gone away.
No, that's not really part of trailers anymore. They just kind of jump right into it. They're just meant to be like sizzle reels.
Yeah.
And, get you into the story and the action.
I like the old school. Yeah.
Sometimes a little in a world.
Yes.
Come on, bring it back. We're going to be talking a lot in this episode about bringing stuff back, so maybe we bring that back. Why choose ELO? Software agnostic platforms, enterprise-grade support, commercial-grade durability, and an extensive partner ecosystem, all built around ELO's lineup of flexible, scalable hardware peripherals, payment devices, and modularity for any business need. To learn more, check out the link in the show notes or contact the BlueStar ELO team.
Boom.
All right, Dean, let's take the pulse.
Yes.
Of the country, of the nation.
Marco, we need a sound effect for the pulse.
Just like maybe like a little like heartbeat thing or something.
Yeah, something like that, or a ping, a subway ping, or submarine.
Maybe we'll let Marco decide like if he thinks that our topic is like just dead on arrival. It could just be like a, So
we don't want him making those choices.
Yeah, everyone would be like
every one of them.
They'd be like, you guys won't stop rambling. I'm just going to go to the beep. All right, so kick us off. Tell us what's happening in space, man. Because like we've been talking a lot you.
Space is so cool. It's in the news, right? I mean, we had the team just get back. What was that called?
The Artemis mission.
Thank you. The Artemis mission. It's got everybody jazzed on that. Well, NASA announced that it's canceling its plans to deploy the space station in lunar orbit, and we're going to the moon, and we're constructing
build on the surface.
$20 billion for a base that will be on the surface of the moon. So that's created a little bit of issues because there was this whole motion around developing a space station, and now you've got all these contractors like, hey, oh no, we're pivoting. We're going to take some of that, I guess, and some of the investments that we've made over there, and then we're going to put it over on the moon so that we can create this.
Do you think
space station? I guess.
Do you think putting it on the surface is easier or harder than?
I don't know.
Because I mean, we've obviously built space stations. We know what we're doing there. Yes. But we haven't really done anything.
Right.
We haven't built anything on the surface of another
yes. Well, so that was my query.
Body yet.
That's my query on this whole thing. Like, so my question to you and what I wanted to riff on was, like, is this what we should be doing? Like $20 billion, isn't Elon doing that already? Kind of a thing. So, So the question is, do we take billions that we were spending on what we're doing and then now going to the moon? And, you can throw in there, well, we're $36 trillion in debt. And, what are we spending money on? And there's always that
argument. I get it.
I've always been a fan of NASA.
Yes.
But then you got China doing the same thing, right? They want to land on the moon in 2030. So we don't want to literally cede territory to them. So in general, I'm in favor. This is our
hunk of floating rock.
I'm in favor of it, but I don't know that everybody's in favor of it. Right, I mean, I do. It's got to be expensive to go up there. Yeah. It's kind of cool to think that, we're going to put an igloo-sized house or whatever it is up on the moon, and then now we can go there, I guess. And there's all kinds of minerals up there, and there's a lot of reasons why you should do it.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting pivot. I mean, NASA was just the bomb when I was growing up. The space shuttle program. And I think I watched every single one of those lift off with and still got goosebumps over it kind of. And then it just faded, right? It was like, Yeah. And then Elon, I don't know, for whatever, just SpaceX and just the whole thing is kind of reinvigorated. Now NASA's going
excited about space
back to the moon. So what's your take on the whole thing?
I mean, to your point, and I know everyone always like to say is why are we spending money doing this when there's so many more problems to be solved and spend money on here at home? I'm like, I completely agree. Mm-hmm. My opinion is a little bit of why can't we do both? And and maybe there's smarter ways we could be spending our money here while also still, expanding out. Because, once upon a time, we all were super excited about space exploration. It was a cool thing. It was something we could all kind of be a little bit unified about how neat and cool it was. This does start to feel though, especially when you see the China part of it, they're planning on doing their moon landing and probably establishing a base of some sort and staking some claims.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we just igniting a new space race? Is that what we're looking at here? Is it just about territory? And
no doubt about it.
Us versus them kind of thing.
So we got to get our minerals.
Right, which I guess, can become its own problem because then you kind of go from
which you want.
It's no longer about the coolness of exploring space and more about who can just get there first.
Yeah, right.
Plant their flag first.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm pumped
and that does
about
maybe taint it a little bit.
It does.
When you think about just space travel, it's like this. I don't know. This what's the right word? It's just this. Nebulous thought. Yes, exactly.
Space term.
Exactly. Thank you. And it's just like dreaming, right? It's like dreaming big and what's out there. But now, wait, we're bringing in territorialism. Right. We're bringing in, capitalism in the sense that we got to make.
To be fair, as long as capitalism exists, we'll always be part of the equation.
Of course.
There was never going to be
that gets my competitive juices running, right? It's hell yeah, we're gonna get up there.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
We're gonna get there. Yeah. So anyway. anyway, I think the net is for me, it's good. And I've always been a fan of the investment. I agree with you. Yes. Could we spend $20 billion on social programs and stuff like that? Of course. Yes. But there's always an equilibrium that you have to weigh. Yes. And it is equally as important. NASA was back in the day responsible for a lot of the technology advances that we have. Yeah. I don't know that we'd be able to do what we can do in space without the advancements that NASA
or what we're doing here on Earth right now.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So anyway, net good along the way.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm excited about it.
So you're in on the NASA lunar base with me.
Come on. Like, wouldn't it be absurdly cool to have a moment like the original moon landing again, where everyone's tuned into their televisions or tuned into their devices and watching a streaming of us landing back on the moon or opening up a lunar space station. I mean, a lot of people were very, very engaged in that Artemis mission. That was probably the first time, to your point, since the old space shuttle missions that I can think of where a lot of people were genuinely talking about and watching and paying attention to what was happening with this mission. Like,
cool.
It was probably the most engaging anyone has been in a space mission in a very long time. So
I mean, I found myself very interested, like even thinking, even looking up at the moon.
Yeah,
when I went out for my morning run and the moon's still up. Yeah. And they were just going around the backside of the moon. I'm like, hey, there's people up there.
Exactly.
I can see them. No, I can't see them anyway. So what's the world's most visited websites? What are we doing here?
Okay, so
what's your take?
It's interesting that back in the terrestrial domain here, people are still living on the internet. People are still visiting websites, and every now and then you see these lists come out of like what are the most visited websites in the world. So this is another one of those great visual capitalist, diagrams and surveys and pulling data into a concise story. Now it should be no surprise that the number one website in the world is still Google at 94.8 billion visits in January of this year. So this is data they took from a site called SEMrush that keeps up to date month by month, day by day tracking of the most popular websites around the world and in individual countries. Google sits at number one, although I do find that fascinating because I'm assuming this means someone actually going to google.com. And I mean, it doesn't, I could not find anything that clarified that or if it's simply indicating using Google.
Oh, good point. Yeah, right.
When was the last time you actually went to google.com?
So rarely, but I type inquiries into just the URL bar.
Yeah, same here.
And it defaults to Google. Is that considered
as the same?
Well, it defaults to Google. So yes, it's going to count it as
you're right. I guess that does mean, you're right. Because the search... When you're that actually does make a lot more sense then because you are still landing on one of Google's pages for the search function. Now, obviously, that also has a lot to do with the fact that Google has a bit of a stranglehold in search, which is something that there's been a lot of litigation for many years.
A little antitrust
about figuring that out, but not going away anytime soon.
I mean, it's not even funny.
No, it's not.
Bing tried for a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they're still on the list.
Still got to be
Bing, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo. They're actually in the top 20
crazy?
On this list still, but far away, nowhere close. At number 2 is YouTube at 49.7 billion, which also probably
that's all the kids.
Not a surprise. Everyone spends some time on YouTube.
Yep.
But they did note in this that like if you combine the next four after Google in the top 5 combined are still less than what Google gets in 1 month.
Just the quick math. So
the rest of your top 5, Facebook at number 3 at 9.5 billion in a month, Instagram at 6.1, but ChatGPT at 5.5 billion. Obviously, that is the huge change outlier here.
Dun, dun, dun.
Noted that like they jumped into the top 15 in early 2024 after launching the platform, and now they're the 5th most visited website in the world in a single month.
Yep.
That is pretty impressive. And I know everyone's like, all the LLMs are coming to eat, Google's lunch. Still a long way off from taking Google's place. But clearly the mover and shaker.
Trending in the right direction.
Right. Because when you look at all the other top sites, in the top 20, most of them are exactly what you would expect. They are been top platforms for a while. Maybe the one that I think is still that might be a little bit of a standout that most people might be surprised by is Reddit at number 6.
Absolutely. That was my take. That was one of my takes.
Yeah, it's one of those sites
I would never have expected Reddit to be 6.
I would not have either. I know it's growing in popularity. Like we are starting to do some third-party advertising there, and doing sponsor campaigns there ourselves and have seen a lot of traction there. You do get a lot of views and a lot of interest from that site. So clearly people
But dang, that's
there.
strong, yeah.
But I never would have expected it as the 6th most visited site in the world. So again, fleshing out the rest, you see a lot of common stuff. There are also a couple of adult sites that are landing in the top 20, of course.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which, you know, not particularly surprising there.
Yep.
You've got 3 sites that are Asia-based, Temu, Yahoo, Japan's Yahoo, and TikTok, of course. They're all landing in there. But then you've got, again, some of them more classics, you know, a lot of social media stuff, including X. You've got Amazon, you've got Netflix, you've got the Weather Channel, you've got Wikipedia, WhatsApp, Bing was another one of the search engines that's on there. So again, not horribly surprising. I think to me, ChatGPT and Reddit were probably the 2 biggest ones that stood out to me the most, landing in the top 10 and being as high as they actually are. I did actually look also and go over to the SEMrush site and filtered by US in particular. And this is actually kind of like up to date to like, you know, right now. And again, still not, you know, not a huge massive shift in difference. Google and YouTube are still far and away at the top. But you see Facebook's up there at number 3 still as well. But you see actually in the US, Reddit jumps to number 4.
Wow.
So in the US only, Reddit is the 4th most visited site currently. And then you've got Amazon jumping all the way up to number 5 there. Wikipedia makes it still in the top 10 there. Yahoo. ChatGPT actually drops to number 9. In the U.S., which I do find a little surprising. So it seems like more of that traffic might be coming from other parts of the world than actually even in the U.S.
Clearly.
But
maybe they don't know about Claude and some of the other.
Maybe that could be it. Yeah, because I'll be
know.
honest, I don't really use ChatGPT that much. I typically do Gemini or Copilot.
Yep.
I think maybe because there's so many more options. There might be more options in the U.S. than other places in the world. Or,
For sure.
Or the narrative. Maybe ChatGPT has kind of taken over the worldview on a broader stage more than some.
Well, they were
first
first to market, so maybe they're getting some first to market benefits outside of the U.S.
That could be the case there.
Yeah.
So as always, all of the links for all this stuff we were talking about is always going to be in our show notes. So go check it out if you want to take a closer look at the top visited websites.
Well, I got some interest
here. What are your thoughts?
Well,
here?
So 10 or 9 of the top 10 are all U.S. origin.
Yeah.
12 of the top 15 are U.S.
Yep.
And so it's like this is
kind of dominating
US
this market.
Dominated. I mean, in the top 20, I guess only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 15 of the top 20 are U.S. based.
Yeah.
So that's just like, I guess that just the takeaway there is that the U.S. intellectual properties are dominant on the web.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's true. That's a good point.
That's really, really interesting. Canada only comes in because of Pornhub. So, you know, what are we doing over there, Canada?
I actually did not know that was a Canadian property. I think I kind of assumed that was a U.S. thing. But
and then the French are only in because of X videos. There you go.
Exactly. I know, like if you want to break into the top sites, apparently porn is the way to go. So,
and then China's got TikTok and Temu. So other than that, you know, we are pretty dominant as relates to that. So that was my take there. It is interesting to see that and just how much. My take was though, ChatGPT. I think obviously coming up. We'll see where that trends.
And it's not far behind Instagram, so I won't be surprised if you run this report again in another year or two.
Absolutely,
if they are in that 4th spot
for sure.
Facebook's influence is going to keep waning, continue to keep waning, I'm sure. So I could see that dropping off further. Like again, I don't know that it's going to take something extraordinary to unseat Google and YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe if again all these antitrust suits and those the monopolistic tendencies of Alphabet, which owns those two, obviously, if they get potentially broken up as has been suggested, maybe that kind of will influence that. But even then, I still like YouTube as a whole will still exist and Google as its own entity will still exist. What may impact Google the most is if the preponderance of devices that have Google Auto installed as the default search engine, if that gets eliminated, that might completely change the game for them. But again, I still don't see those two falling out of that top 2 spots for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So
I got you for sure. Yeah.
All right. So that's the top websites in the world.
Yes.
But some folks that are not spending a lot of time apparently on the websites are folks in hardworking cities.
Absolutely.
Tell us about the hardest working cities in the country.
So and this is U.S. based, right? So the article is around work-life balance and what are the hardest working cities in the U.S. So before I get to which ones they are, let's go through some of their methodology, as we like to talk about
to understand
here.
The methodology.
Because what the article starts off with is America tends to tip the scales, favoring overtime over free time. The average U.S. employee clocks in nearly 1,800 hours a year in work, which is far more than their counterparts in Japan, the UK, Germany, etc., which is surprising. You always hear about like the Japanese workers is just like dusk to dawn, right, and but no, the American worker is still putting in a significant amount of time compared to the world. So they use what they call direct factors and indirect factors when they were calculating this. The direct factors track obvious stuff like how many hours people worked, employment rates, unused vacation time, idle youth, which is interesting to throw in there.
I thought that was a fascinating stat,
or even how engaged workers were in their jobs. I don't know how you measure that, but okay. And so if a city scores high here, it means the residents aren't just at their desks, they're on a grind, if you will. Right. Then there were some indirect factors, which is stuff like how long is your commute, holding multiple jobs. A lot of people have side gigs, right? And then the community involvement, like are they volunteering? Are they joining local groups and stuff like that? So I know you've read the article, but did you have any preconceived ideas on what might rank as the hardest working city before I reveal which city is the most
to your
hardest
point,
working city?
I'll let you reveal that in a moment.
Yes.
I did not expect certainly the number one. Only one of the top 5 checked out, in my opinion.
Yep.
And really, again, looking at the list of the top, what do they have? The top 30 on this list?
Yes.
There are very few of them that I would have thought would have been in that list.
Couldn't agree more.
There are a lot of cities that I would have assumed would have been in here.
Yes.
That are not, especially when I got into the factors, and you factor in stuff like the commute stuff or whatever, the volunteering aspect or whatever. There are many cities I would have assumed were in this list that are not.
Yep.
And I definitely did not expect where we landed.
I'm with you. So
give us the details of
my preconceived idea here, I came across the article and I'm like,
New York, sometimes LA, they're going to be.
Sometimes I like to play a little game with myself. Like, can I guess it before I even read it? New York would have been at the top.
Easily.
LA, yes. San Francisco, right? Or San Jose more specifically, because, that's Silicon Valley. And it's like people work hard there, right? I mean, that's the culture. Chicago, a lot of hardworking people out there. You would think that would be it. Oh no, here's your top 10. Coming in at, I'm going to go from 5. Coming in for 5 is Irvine, Texas. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe. I know Texas is a big city. That's outside of Dallas. Oh, maybe. But here's where
maybe that's what it is. Is it commuters?
I don't know. So number 4, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Okay. Number 3, I can believe, Washington, D.C.
Yes,
right?
that one is the only one that really checked out to me.
You are working hard all day, and then you got to go to a dinner. Right? You got to go see.
Especially if you were working in the government,
100%,
or anything government related.
I know those people put in
all day jobs.
Hours. Yeah. Okay, but your top 2 are perplexing. Number 2 is Anchorage, Alaska.
Okay,
and then the number 1 is Cheyenne, Wyoming. What?
What?
Cheyenne, Wyoming is the hardest working city in the U.S. So it leads the pack when it comes to sheer dedication. Residents average over 40 hours per week, rank 5th nationally for holding multiple jobs. That's impressive. Keeping them constantly on the grind is what this article indicates. So, in a million years, I would not have. I know the people in Wyoming are good people.
Well,
there's no doubt they're hardworking people. But when you quantify it the way that they have, I literally would never have had that on my list.
So I have some theories here. When I started thinking about this and brainstorming about it, I think, what does this mean? So
what does this mean?
Obviously, outside of DC, the other 4 here are, again, these are big cities in their respective states, but they're still rural type areas. They are rural states.
Yeah, you're talking Sioux Falls, Anchorage, and
Anchorage
Cheyenne.
doesn't get much more rural than that.
No.
But these are not necessarily large urban style areas.
Correct.
And so one, I think when you throw in that commute factor, that probably does have a lot to do with it, because a lot of these folks might be coming from rural type areas. In the vicinities to come work in these cities. Or again, it kind of depends on how they define the cityscape in that area, plus, okay, then
could be a really wide footprint.
Right. You're also getting into a lot of states here that probably have a lot of like lower income. So it's probably not necessarily high paying jobs. So then that idea of they might need a secondary job might be more important. These also might
it does say that the folks in Cheyenne rank 5th, was it, in having 2 jobs?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They also it also might be jobs where there's a lot more overtime opportunity, so a lot less salaried positions. It might be a lot more hourly positions.
All right, sir.
There's a lot more opportunity if you are able to get more money by working overtime. You are working overtime. Also, you're looking at potentially a lot more jobs, like I think again of like the Cheyenne, the Sioux Falls, Anchorage, Alaska, where a lot of the work and a lot of might be a lot more like
multiple
labor
jobs.
Intensive.
Well, they refer
collar.
to it. Yeah, logging. Logging is maybe you're logging and then you're a bartender at night.
Right,
something
exactly.
Like that,
Or just jobs also that just demand a lot more work and a lot more effort. You don't get to go until the work is done. Like if you're working on a farm, if you're logging, if you're doing something that's a lot of intensive labor, like there might be a project you're working on that just the work's got to get done before you get to go home.
Could be.
The other factor there too is that also a lot of these areas might be areas where there's just not as much other stuff to do.
Yeah. So you might as well work.
Like, yeah. Like
now I'm gonna,
you can't, you're not
poke
able to go
holes in
hang
your
out
theories.
with your buddies at like the local hot spots.
I'm going to poke holes in your theories real quick.
Because again, I still do find this a little bit
my other take here is that the Midwest represented extremely poorly. Like there's one city in the Midwest, Nashville,
right.
If you define that as number Midwest, 6, even if you define that as Midwest,
or the South for that matter, because most of the South is not really well represented here.
Exactly.
Either.
So when you talk about there's not a lot of stuff to do or whatever. I mean, I think about Minnesota or Michigan or there's not. It's cold and dark up there in the winter. I mean, there's not a single representation in the top 30.
That's a very good point.
In any Midwest city. So it's like. And we're always proud here in the Midwest. We always talk about the fact that, it's grit and grind that builds the Midwest, right? This is where manufacturing is. This is where cornfields are. To your point, you're working until you're done.
Right. Until the sun goes down and you can't do the work
anymore.
Not
a single one. Oh, but we got Scottsdale. We got Chandler.
Well, look at how many are in Texas. There's
a ton of them.
9 of Texas cities. These are Texas cities.
No shade on Texas. I know the people down there work hard. You got the oil industry. Okay, I'm good. I'm just saying that the Midwest should have been represented in some way. You can't tell me that Detroit or give me a city outside of that. I don't know. There's got to be some.
I don't know.
Anyway, that was my only disappointing factor.
This
here.
Also, because part of this too was like passing on PTO and not taking time off. Like that's also where I look. When I hear. Because this immediately is one of those when I saw the topic for this article before I even clicked in. One, I was thinking obviously completely different cities. But the other part is it triggered me of this is not always a good thing. Like I know we say that and it sounds like this is what we're supposed to be like. Yeah, we got to be hard working, get the hustle, work, do the job, do the work. We're cool. But then there's also the part of me that goes, okay, if you're not using your time off though, like, come on, man, it's not good for your. That's fair. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your family. It's not good for. It's not good.
Clearly,
for you,
we still don't take our vacation as Americans.
Exactly. So like, there's a lot of it that built in there, and so maybe is that part of it too? Like, are these areas where? I mean, I don't know. I guess if I lived in Anchorage, like, what am I going to do with my PTO? Like, well, I can go to this snow-covered field over here, and hang out. Like, maybe don't have as many options there either. So, So I don't know. Like,
anyway,
it's an interesting article. Again, defies expectations. I would be curious about digging even further into the data and figuring out what it means. But
if I ever go to Cheyenne, I'm just going to give them a thumbs up and say, thanks for, y'all are hard workers out here. I know.
Guess. I was just in Austin a few weeks ago for our 2U tour. Like, I should have maybe. We didn't have the highest turnout for our for that event as we typically do.
Because they're all at work.
Maybe that was it. They're all just like, hey, I'm sorry, I don't have time to come to your hang out to your thing. I'm too busy doing the hustle here.
I got work to do.
Maybe we put this out there to our team and be like, hey, these are cities apparently we need to avoid because they're just too damn busy even to show up for our nonsense, I guess. So.
All right, let me give you the lead into your next one here.
Okay.
And now, John Martin will give us the highest grossing films in history. Movie.
Yes, sir. So I always enjoy checking this list out from time to time, and I'm usually pretty privy to what's happening here with the.
I mean, this is in your wheelhouse.
It very much
this is absolutely in your
I'm
wheelhouse.
I'm a movie guy. I always have.
I didn't even look at the article, but please, pray tell.
This is another visual capitalist. Plus, I just thought like, hey, they always put a cool looking little graphic and chart together for this. Now, none of this was particularly surprising to me. I don't think I'd looked at it maybe in a couple years, but I'm usually again stay on top of this particular story.
Yeah.
Now, this is obviously the highest grossing, not adjusted for inflation.
Oh,
it's always important to make that context.
Dang it, yes,
because when you make that context, I think Gone with the Wind still typically
just blows everything out
just by sheer number of people that saw the film.
Yeah. And when did that come out? Roughly 40s, 50s, 60s. When
40 something, I think. Might have even been 30 something.
Okay. Oh, geez. So it's had a long time to run.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
All right.
So you know that always tends to take the crowd if you adjust for inflation.
Yeah.
But not adjusting for inflation.
All right, sir.
It makes this more interesting to look at because the bulk of this is a top 20 list. The bulk of the movies in the top 20 have been released in the last 15 years, a lot of even in the last decade for that matter too.
All right.
And there's an obvious reason for that. Ticket prices are insane.
Ticket prices are insane.
If you go to see a movie,
what is it? I don't even know.
Matinee right now for an adult in this area is around $11-12.
Okay.
And like for child, maybe like $10 or something. All like an evening showing, you're running anywhere from 15 to 20, depending on your market. That's just for ticket price alone.
But then you got to get the popcorn at $40.
That might be even higher in other areas.
Yeah,
like again, I'm talking from here. I don't go to movies in New York or LA. Like I have no idea what those costs look like. Those might be even more ridiculous on a per ticket price. So when we look at this, what is still interesting though is that the number one movie of the still the highest grossing is the original first Avatar from 2009.
Why?
So, well,
all right, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, I'll get back to that in a moment. Let me just run through a little bit of the list here. At number 2 is Avengers Endgame, which for a while was number 1, but Avatar had a re-release in China ahead of the sequel coming out a few years back.
Gave it a bump.
Which gave it a bump back up the list. But Endgame had dethroned it for a little bit of time.
Okay. All right.
Number 3 is the second Avatar movie, The Way of the Water, or The Way of Water. Number 4, the oldest film on this list, and the only one not from this century, Titanic from 98, I think the Titanic came out.
Sounds about right.
97, no, it was 97, I think it was. Maybe late 97, something like that. I don't know. So that is by far the oldest film on this. Yeah, it was 97, the oldest film on this list. And then at number 5, which we've talked about this a couple times on the show before, Neja 2, however you're supposed to say that, which is a Chinese animated film, which I have actually still not seen yet.
Oh, no.
That is now the number 5, the only one that is not an American film on this list, by the way.
Shots
but
fired.
That is
there
the number
you go.
5 highest grossing film of all time, again, in current dollars. All right, so that's your top 5. The rest of the list is exactly what you would think it is. You've got a Star Wars film. You've got all 3 more of the Avengers films. I'm guessing the 5th one this year will probably be added to this list.
How does Furious 7 make this list?
I was kind of curious. Furious 7's on there. You've got other Marvel
films. Is there a Sharknado on here?
You've got the other Avatar film. You got a bunch of Disney animated films. It's mostly a lot of sequels. It's mostly a lot of franchise films. Really, other than the first Avatar and Titanic, everything is either a sequel or part of a long-running, ongoing
good point.
Franchise.
Yeah.
Which again, I kind of get that. Like I know people like bemoan like the state of the movie industry and like that original IP and original films don't get their due and don't get enough, love in the theaters. But again, I go back to, because I'm just as guilty of this, I love seeing a great original film. I'm probably not going to go spend my money in the theater in the limited times I get to go see movies anymore. Going to see something that I don't know for sure if I'm going to necessarily like it or not, or if I even know anything about it, because I may not have barely even heard about it. Again, that is not a good thing. And back in my youth, I would go see more diverse movies all the time and just see a broader amount of stuff, because I would go see like 2 or 3 movies, a week sometimes. But that was before I was married with kids and working hard and all this other stuff going on. And again, when movies did not cost so much to go to see one. So I do tend to like to go to see the spectacle movies now. Like I'm more likely to not like if I'm taking my son to see one, he's going to want to see the fun, cool stuff or the animated film. Or just because like I want to see the big bombastic, loud, cool special effects, where you enjoy the big audience experience. Like
I agree.
My butt's planted for every Marvel movie when they show in theaters. I will be there to see the new Star Wars, obviously, when that comes out. But
there is still a magic to that.
There is. There really is.
I hearken back to the first movie I saw that had the kind of that immersive experience of both visual and audio was Battlestar Galactica. I think, because the theater that I saw it in, they put in like bass dumps or
was this
what
like,
are now
so was
called
this like
subwoofers.
Because it was a TV show. Was that like a release in the theater?
Yes,
like a pilot or something?
I think so.
Okay.
Something like I might have the wrong movie, but it was a Battlestar Galactica kind of a thing,
Okay.
and the room just moved. Right,
Yeah.
I mean they moved air, and it was like, oh, this is really cool when the ship came over you and stuff like that. Right. So there is just a magic of still going to theaters, right?
Yes,
and just seeing it bigger than life. But go ahead.
I mean, to your point, like the Oscar bait talking head emotional, moving, amazingly acted drama is great.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily, I mean, my television at home still
does the job.
Damn good for that.
Exactly.
I don't necessarily have to sit in a theater to get that experience.
That's right. Or the screen's big enough now that, it can consume you and you're good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even still now, even watching some of the big blockbuster stuff at home still can be a cool experience. Now of this, before we talk about the avatar of it all.
Yes.
There's actually 5 of this top 20 that I have not seen.
What?
And part of that is because I have only seen the first Avatar. I have not seen the sequels.
Oh, whoa.
And again, I'll get to that again in a moment.
Okay.
I have only seen maybe one of the Furious franchises, just not a franchise that appeals to me.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm going to give you that one.
Yeah.
I've got
and
you.
I have not seen Ninja, obviously. And what was the other one? I felt like there was one.
Frozen?
Top Gun Maverick.
What?
I know.
I'm sorry. We're just going to have to stop right now.
I was not a big fan of the original Top Gun.
Me
Maybe
neither.
it's because I just didn't see it then.
Okay.
So I think I've only seen the original Top Gun once. So I wasn't.
Immediately after this, you have to watch this movie.
I do need to watch it because I'm sure I've heard nothing but good stuff about it.
I don't know.
And I genuinely just like Tom Cruise movies typically.
I don't know that it's worth 1.5 billion.
I'm a massive fan of the Mission Impossible franchise.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
that is shocking.
I'm a little ashamed that I have so many gaps in this particular
little kink in the armor of being the movie guru.
Maybe sort of because. All right, let's talk about Avatar though, because first of all, it's fascinating that James Cameron has three movies in the top 5. 5. Yeah. 3 of the top 4 are James Cameron movies.
Isn't that unbelievable?
And a 4th one in the top 20 overall.
That's unbelievable.
It really is. I mean, and
that kid knows what he's doing.
But here's the caveat of that. I don't like Avatar.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I had this on my list to talk about this at some point in one
So
of
you
these
saw
episodes.
Avatar.
Right. So
you haven't seen The Way of the Water.
I didn't see The Way of Water. I've not seen Fire and Ash.
Okay.
So, and a part of it is because I remember going and seeing the original Avatar when it came out. Yeah. And I think when I first saw
in the
theater. And I think I first saw it. I did not see a 3D showing of it. And I was like, this is fine. And then I actually saw it in 3D, which I admit the 3D was really cool.
Okay.
It's unfortunate because Avatar's 3D presence is probably a big part of what made it so huge as it was because one, they were premium ticket prices for 3D at the time. 2, I think it was a lot of what people were like, this is good 3D. Because it kind of led the CGI, resurgence of 3D that fell off very quickly and now is not really that.
Like Jaws 3D was not a...
No. Now, I will say the 3D was phenomenal. The only reason I ended up seeing it is because
so you saw regular and you saw it in 3D?
So this was back when, I think they still do it, AMC theaters, whenever the Oscars would be released, would always do a marathon where you could go and watch every single Oscar film in a day. Actually, I think now they spread it over 2 days because now you can have up to 10 films.
All right.
So I went back and I love to go sit down on this marathon because one, it was just a great way for me to see the Oscar nominated movies, most of which I usually hadn't seen.
Yeah.
And Avatar was one that year, was one of the nominated pictures that year. So the version that they showed for the Oscar presentation for the marathon was the 3D version. So I got to see it then. And I will admit, watching the 3D version made me like it a little bit more. But now I literally just watched this movie again this weekend because we went to Disney a few weeks back for a little vacation and we rode the Avatar ride. Went to the Avatar area of Disney World in Animal Kingdom, rode the ride that's there. My son thought it was fascinating. So he's like, well, I want to see the movie now. So we watched the movie. And I still just can't get into it.
I'm with you.
I watched a movie that is filled with so many tropes from other films, and it's fine. Yeah. Yes, the CGI was amazing. It's actually not aging very well, which to be expected, I suppose.
Yeah.
but just like the story doesn't do it for me. Like, I'm just like, this is fine. It has never inspired me to go.
So why do you think it took? I agree. I saw it. I thought it was an okay movie. I wasn't like over the moon about it. Marco, we need your opinion. Just a thumbs up or down. Did you like Avatar? Didn't like Avatar? What's he doing? I can't.
I don't know. I can't see it. He's thumbs a thumbs up.
Okay, so he liked.
Have you seen the sequels, Marco?
All right,
he's not seen the sequels.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I'm with you. I mean, it hasn't compelled me to get into it. So why do you think so much of the world loves this movie?
I
like my
know.
daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, just watched Avatar. I don't know, within the last 6 months, loves it. Like it's one of those movies she would rank as like probably one of her top 5 movies she's ever seen.
I don't know. I mean, I know like there were a lot of folks that were really like invested in the film at the time. I remember there was people saying they wish they could live in that world. They wish they could, and it is a great escapist type movie. But what kills me is every time when they talk about the mineral that everyone's trying to find on this planet, and it's called unobtainium, and I'm like, come on. Like, that is what a grade schooler would name something. Like, it's just, I think, so.
I didn't realize that. I think
classic. What really chased me about this also is the fact that James Cameron is basically devoting the end of his career to this franchise and to making these movies. Like, he said he wants to make anywhere between 5 to 7 of these.
Oh, there's some more coming.
So he's planning on still doing more, I think.
I'll be darned.
And James Cameron, to me, is one of the greatest directors we've ever had. I mean, if you go back in his history before Titanic, when he was Aliens and Terminator 2, 2 of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
All these amazing movies that he made over the years.
Maybe he's just he's Midas. Whatever he does, it just turns to gold.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just it's the hype that got built around it. But again, I think the 3D part of it helped out too, and just and again, I am willing to be surprised. I might very well go watch the other 2 movies and be like, okay, these are actually really cool. They're getting even better. I'm sure the special effects work is even better than it was before.
It's gotta be.
It was a good long gap. It was like 10, 12 years between the first one and the second one.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the effects and stuff have gotten better.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, the Avatar of it all still fascinates me. I actually was very happy when Endgame knocked it off for a little while there, because I think Endgame is a spectacular, amazing film. It was a great culmination of where the Marvel universe had built itself to. But there you go. I could ramble on about this for days. You know me. I could constantly keep talking about movies, but we'll move on from there. All right. So as Robin Sparkle said, shout out to all the How I Met Your Mother fans. Let's all go to the mall.
Let's do.
Or at least that's what apparently Gen Z is saying.
That is what Gen Z is saying. And I'm sorry, because when you click on this link in the notes, it's going to be a paywall.
I know.
So
I know.
And now I can't access it.
I know. I was just like, this is Washington. Come on, Wall Street Journal here. I tried to listen to it.
I'm so sorry.
The listening recap gave me like an extra couple minutes of the article.
Yeah,
but
so
you get enough.
You get a gist of it. I'm only going to be able to riff a little bit, but what it says is a new generation of mall rats has arrived. Gen Z shoppers are hanging out at malls and documenting. This is, I think, key. Everything on social media, helping boost a budding recovery in store. So we're very sensitive to retail. What we do is we keep an eye on retail and what's happening in that technology. And, I have always felt, just by my people in my life, my daughter and stuff like that, I've always felt that retail is not dead, to a certain degree. And if you dive into the numbers, and I think we had Greg Busick from, he's got the numbers. He's got the detail. But, there are categories of retail that are doing better than others.
Yes. And the mall would typically not be high on that list.
But so it's comforting to see that Gen Zs are going there. But when again, I'm going to go back to that little bit of information, everything on social media. So what it is, it's not just the shopping experience. And part of what I could glean out of here is that they did interview, a lady that is a Gen Z age, and it was all her. For her, it was all about the immediacy of being able to buy, which you can't still get online. I mean, yes, you can buy, but you still got to wait. Even as good as Amazon is, and maybe you can get it the same day kind of a thing, there's nothing beats the immediacy of walking into a store and being able to buy something and put it on right then and there. And then if you add the social media component of it, now they're posting what they just did and living this TikTok life. That starts to make a lot more sense, right? Like, hey, look here's my haul. mall. I know that's a little bit old, but here's what we're doing, kind of a thing. So it's this confluence of, yes, the immediacy of going to a mall, which has multiple stores and lots of glitz, and then being able to socialize that as well. Right. So that makes sense that Gen Z is falling in love with the mall, and now you got new mall rats out there. Yeah. Anyway, your take?
I find this fascinating because there's a local mall that I go to from time to time. I go to walk. I think I've mentioned that before.
Yeah, you're just getting old.
I'm officially an old person that goes and walks in a mall. And so I've been I've been doing that quite a bit over the last several years, and obviously I've seen that mall there are times when I'm like, I'm amazed this place is still open, live.
Yeah.
A lot of the big anchor stores have either gone out of business or just left malls entirely. And there's so many empty spaces there. Anytime I've been in malls in other cities and other places or whatever, a lot of it feels the same. Some feel a little more like, I think
there's one mall around here too, I would say, they're still active. But go ahead, Kenwood. Okay. I mean, I
haven't been there in a very long time. So.
It doesn't matter what time you go there. There's a lot of people.
So maybe it's it. Maybe it's just some are doing better than others and keeping the momentum going. Yep. But to me, it does still feel like there's a missed opportunity there because, again, maybe what a mall can be has changed over the years and what it should be. But I obviously I remember spending time there when I was young. It was a great hangout place for teenagers. Yep. Typically, it was just it was.
So
it was
you were
one
a rat.
Place.
You were a mall rat.
I wouldn't say I was a mall rat. Like I went through phases, because I had friends that wanted to hang out at the arcade, and I remember for a while, obviously I worked in a mall for a while too. That was part of the reason why I was there for a while. And so there was always the mall was like a communal space. It was a place where any teen could get dropped off and hang out. Yeah. And it was a fairly safe space.
Yep.
There was lots of stuff to do. You could have food there. There was lots of different shops, obviously. There were places like arcades. There would often be events happening at the mall, sometimes little concerts in the gathering space or whatever. There was just a lot to do. And I feel like that space is still there's not a lot of indoor spaces with that opportunity as much anymore.
For sure.
And it feels to me like there could be opportunity there. I think it's just that maybe there just needs to be entrepreneurial people that figure out better ways to do it. Now, I will say when I do go to the local mall and I'm walking through, sure, you see some of the classic stores that you see everywhere. There's still, actually, there's not Abercrombie anymore. I take it back. That's been replaced by
Yankee Candle.
No, Yankee Candle's still there. Yes, that's still there. Bed Bath & Beyond, Victoria's Secret. There's still Macy's.
Yeah,
but there's also There's a lot of small stores. There's a lot of pop-up stores. There is a lot of stuff that does look like it's catering to younger audiences.
Oh, absolutely. Shoe stores
exactly. There's there does tend to be a lot of again a lot of stuff that clearly is local. Local people that are coming in,
which is good.
I mean, I guess there's still opportunity here, and maybe Gen Z is the ones that'll save these places.
Maybe. I think it's a good segue into what I think is the next article here, but that you picked up on. Maybe there is, this need to. Anyway.
If you're done talking about the mall, we can jump right into
Absolutely.
that. So yes, it was interesting when you said this over because it blended itself nicely with another article that I had come across, which is the idea that Gen Z is looking to kind of dial back the clock.
Yep.
So I guess going to the mall isn't the only thing they want to do to bring back the past.
Yes.
So there were some recent surveys of Gen Zers about, their feelings about the time we're currently living in and where they would like to be. So this is an NBC News survey of a little over 3,000 people in the Gen Z bracket. It was actually kind of a broad survey about, their feelings on different policies and issues, hot topics, personal finances, religion, a little bit of everything. There's a lot of societal type stuff. But apparently 14% of the respondents said they wanted to live 50 or more years in the past. 33% wanted to live within less than 50 years in the past, but still in the past. And apparently the sweet spot is the 90s or early 2000s.
Yes.
Only 38% said that they were happy living in the present. And there was about another 15% they wanted to live further into the future, whether it was just, a few years down the road or 50 years or more down the road. So basically what they're basically saying is most of Gen Z saying, I'm not happy with the current time we're living in. I'd like to live in a different time. Now, I would argue that in most generations would probably say that the current time is not great and that we should be living, and they can't wait. Mostly because younger people are typically I can't wait until I'm older and can have all the stuff.
I see where you're going. Yeah.
But it is. I do think it's unusual to see people saying, "Well, the past that my parents lived in or the previous generations lived in
was better.
Was probably better."
Yeah,
because again, I would argue that most of the time, most people are like, "You had to deal with what when you were a kid?" Like when you tell stories to kids of like, this is what life was like for me.
I'm going to call it the friction.
Yeah, before the internet,
friction maxing,
before cell phones, before all these modern conveniences you have. Yeah. It's usually as a way of telling them like life sucked back then. You've got it so much easier now. But apparently they're hearing that and going, "Does it suck though?
Right? Yeah.
Was that for the worst when like I wasn't constantly having something in my hand, in my pocket, blowing me up all the time and telling me everything that was going on and constant communication, constant social media, constant video, constant news, constant connectivity to everything, like never being able to stay disconnected."
Well, that's what the headline says. Too many subscriptions, worse products, AI, hurtful algorithms, spy devices. These are all contributing to Gen Z's souring.
I don't think they're wrong.
They're not wrong.
I feel that way too. It's fascinating that something that to me feels like someone's at our age, sounds like a get off my lawn kind of moment. Is actually something that the youngest generation is actually kind of looking at, or the youngest growing generation, and saying, yeah, you're kind of right.
You're kind of right.
Which makes me a little hopeful for the future.
Oh, it totally does.
That maybe they're going to learn some of the things.
Well, we need to correct a lot of these things,
that
right?
Gen X and the millennials got wrong and messed up and kind of made life a little more complicated for everyone.
When you have that generation saying, it'd be okay to ban social media until you're 16, for example. I mean, they know. They grew up with it. They know what the hurtful algorithm means, and they've seen it a little bit more than you and I. I mean, our frontal lobe was way produced
we
by
took
the
a
time
skeptical approach to it from the beginning.
Social media came around. So, I mean, they've seen kind of the devastation of some of these things real time, and they're like, not a good thing.
Yeah.
It's okay. We can take that back.
Again, they can't
put
be
it
wrong.
Back in the closet.
What I thought you were saying, it's notable most people don't want to go back too far. The 90s and early 2000s seem to be the sweet spot when advances in technology
a great time, though. But
still seemed exciting and beneficial to the human race in general.
Right.
For reference, the first iPod launched in 2001, and we got the first iPhone in 2007.
Yeah.
And now, my caveat to all this that I would say to a younger person is,
well, you got to do it in an old man's voice.
Be careful what you wish for, because there are still many things that going back 20, 30 years that I would say were not as good. And being nostalgic, I think sometimes a little bit of nostalgia for a past version of society can be problematic in some ways. There are things that I think that if you landed in that spot and looked around and realized the reality of some things, might go, this isn't actually as good as it could be as well. From that technological standpoint, from that where we are with like social media and devices and just the constant on of everything all the time. Yeah, I completely agree. I do kind of, as much as I indulge in all that stuff myself, I do admit sometimes that I think about this sometimes when I'm like in bed at night and I just spent like half an hour scrolling on my phone and just checking out notifications and stuff and realizing like, I've got this book sitting here that I keep wanting to read.
Exactly.
I could have been reading a chapter or two of that instead of staring at my phone. That's the kind of stuff where I'm like, you know what? Once upon a time, I did just read a chapter or two of a book every night.
Maybe Gen Z is going to start correcting all of us, right?
Maybe.
Because you got to keep up with the youngs. And if the youngs are getting off with it, absolutely.
More power to them.
They'll create a momentum around.
If so, exactly.
Because God knows that we've spent a lot of money raising them.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about that. Yeah.
The article I picked up on, because I don't know, I'm always fascinated, but it's around the cost of raising a child. Did you have a guess? I mean, I know you have a child. So does it ever hurt you to like when you see the quantification?
A little bit, yes. Yeah. I guess I'm not totally shocked and surprised, but at the same time, it's a little depressing to see it.
I mean, there's no
stark numbers.
I will start off by saying there's nothing. My personal opinion
is
there's
priceless.
There you go. It's absolutely priceless.
But if you're gonna slap a price tag on them,
if you throw on your financial hat, now yes, I'm imagining a guy sitting there with a green light, the little light and the little hat on. What a visor.
A little visor,
and
crunching numbers.
And you got the calculator off to the side.
When you got to like crank or something,
Well, when you crank the numbers, the new estimate from LendyTree puts a price tag of $303,000 for 2026 of how much it's going to cost you to raise your kid. That's an average of
And that's almost over 18 years.
That's over 18 years. That's about $17,000 a year that it costs you to raise children. That does not include if you're going to try to pay for your kids' college. That is just getting them to the age of 18, $17,000 a year on average. That's a lot of money. I mean, if you just put that away in any kind of financial instrument, I can tell you with compound interest, you're gonna have $1 million pretty darn quick.
You'd be in good shape.
You'd be in really, really good shape. So from a financial aspect, although I always hold that over my children in a joking manner, like, hey, we could be, your mom and I could be really rich if you want.
You're holding us back.
Yeah, exactly. But it is fascinating to see that it's a lot of money, right? It's an investment to have to raise children.
Very much so.
A lot goes into it. Obviously, groceries and everything,
child care
costs, all that good stuff. $303,000 is a big number over 18 years. So anyway, that was the comment there. It's just, it never ceases to amaze me. Just the investment that you make if you have a kid, what you have to put into it to make it happen.
Yeah. There's an interesting breakdown, like a little map here too, that shows you like cost, the average cost per state.
Yeah.
And I found Hawaii is number one, $413,000 on average for them. Ohio, Kentucky, not too bad. We're in like the low 220s, like 230 to low 230s for Kentucky. That's not as bad as that average. Not as close to that or above that. So can't complain about that. Yeah, I did find this interesting because we are in a society now where you see a lot of people arguing about like, why aren't people having kids as much anymore? Why aren't people having more kids? Why aren't they having bigger families? Why aren't they having kids sooner? And I'm like, well, here's your reason right there.
Here's a reason for sure.
People aren't stupid. They're seeing it. They're seeing what it costs. They're seeing, their own, what it costs just to get by in their life. You've got a lot of young people that are coming out of college in debt already. And you're telling them like, hey, now I had $17,000 a year on top to just to raise a child. And that's one child.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, that's going to compound.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm sure it's not.
I got 3.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not 17 per as you get more because, some of the costs, combine a little bit, but probably not a lot. Like, I'm sure it's an exponential growth, as you're adding on.
What I was hoping the article did, and I just scrolled through, I don't see it. I would love to see a comparison to like the 80s. Or the 90s. That's a good point. Yeah. What was it like to how much did it cost to raise a kid back when I was, growing up in the 70s and the 80s?
Yeah,
I don't think it's anywhere near.
Yeah, they said like this particular analysis that Lending Tree was doing, they started in 23, and there's been about a 2%, growth from the previous year with that. But yeah, I would have loved to see those. I'm sure those stats are out there.
To your point, people always lament that, the cost today is so much more. And I believe it. I just like to see it quantified.
Right. Well, and also as a fraction of income too, because that obviously has changed as well. Like is it possible that we were spending roughly the same amount as a percentage of income back then, or has that? Right. I would suspect that has also still changed. Like I would guess that like the percentage of someone's income that they're spending on childcare now is still higher than it was in the 80s. It may not be quite as big of a leap, but still, I'm sure that has changed as well.
Yeah, it's got to have. Yeah. So fascinating article. Good one there.
Definitely.
And one of the things we're not paying for if we're in the UK, I guess, is cigarettes.
Apparently not.
What's going on here?
So the UK has passed a new cigarette ban.
Wow.
Basically a bill that has been passed that essentially will eventually ban cigarette sales for anyone under 18 or anyone born. I said actually after a certain date. So this is going to be for anyone. So I guess this actually would kick into effect as of the end of this year.
Okay.
So anyone born after December 31st,
this year,
2008. So they were born after 2008, which means they'll be turning 18.
Got it.
By the end of this year or into next year, will no longer be allowed to purchase cigarettes.
I'll be darned.
So as it is, they've obviously not been allowed to sell it.
Ad infinitum. I mean, the rest of your life, you cannot buy.
So if you were born before the end of 2008, so before 2009, you can still keep buying cigarettes. Acknowledging obviously some people may be addicted to them, and
for
they
sure
won't be allowed to continue.
Yeah.
But now, basically, if you were born after this year, if you were born 2009 or later, you were turning 18 and first legally allowed to buy cigarettes, you will actually no longer be allowed to.
This won't create a black market at all.
Not at all, no. Now, so obviously, the acknowledgement is like, hey, this doesn't mean that people of that age aren't going to smoke cigarettes, but purchasers can be fined and and charged and potentially have legal ramifications for selling.
Wow, that's fascinating.
In that time, which I suspect in the long run would just mean that a lot of places would just stop selling them entirely, which I'm sure has seen a precipitous decline as it is.
I mean, the market will take over there, right? Like if their sales are declining and there's no reason to have them on the shelf.
And obviously smoking has been waning dramatically for a long time as
more in the US than Europe though.
That's
which
a
is
good
what
point.
I found fascinating.
That is a very good point. Yes, because we did a lot here, and especially in the US too, like ban a lot of smoking in public places.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't smoke in most restaurants anymore. You can't smoke on airlines anymore.
I remember when all that was going down. Like when the state of Kentucky said you can no longer smoke in the restaurants, I was like, oh man, the wheels have fallen off on the
tobacco
smoking
capital. Yeah, it was like you knew that was going to be problematic. Now, let's be honest, this is probably going to get challenged. There's a chance maybe it gets repealed or I could see a different political administration taking over and deciding
to me it was just
to dial this back. But then again, I also think about what's happened here in the US and like I think there was a lot of expectation that would get pushed back at some point, and yet we haven't. And really, I think what this comes down to is because while yes, you could argue about personal choice and like, hey, my body, my choice to put what I want in it, but we also know that smoking does not just affect you. That if especially again in the public spaces, smoking was damaging to other people that were exposed to it as well. So it's not just about what you're doing to yourself. Like yes. Right now, like if you want to smoke a 6-pack a day in your own home, or 6, packs a day in your own home, fine. You are welcome to do that. That's fine, but not around me.
Right.
That's the caveat of the difference now. So I think maybe, I don't know, this could end up being something that kind of sticks because I won't be surprised if cigarettes as a whole is pretty much non-existent in another 50 years.
I don't know, man.
Like I know like vaping is taking off or the e-cigarette stuff, like maybe something that's not as, potentially destructive to others. And again, people are always going to have their vices.
The human species is pretty good with having some kind of addiction.
Yes, that's true.
Whether it's
that's a good point. We're going to replace it in some way. Maybe it's not the cigarette anymore. Maybe again, it's more of the e-stuff instead. Which have also seen a lot of legs and a lot of life, and are now also becoming under a lot of scrutiny because of how they market themselves and the practices that they have.
Well, and if it's not cigarettes, it's gambling or it's something. It's some other vice,
which is becoming its own huge issue.
Huge issue now in the U.S. for sure.
Yeah,
but I did think this was interesting. I don't know. To your point, we'll see if it sticks. I think that there's going to be what I remember when things like this happen is like, so I was of age when they raised the age to buy alcohol from 18 to 21.
Right.
And all it did, so the big question when I was growing up was, are you old enough? Did you get grandfathered in? Meaning, could you still buy alcohol?
Right.
And we had a couple friends that were grandfathered in, and they were the ones that were buying all of our alcohol on the weekends. So this is going to to happen, right? Yeah, you're going to have people are like, hey, can you still buy smokes? Are you still of the age?
Yeah, that's exactly
that you can do that. Like, so it'll be a fade.
That buddy yours that graduated last year is going to become your new best friend.
If it sticks, it'll fade. You know, I could maybe 30 years from now, you know, it'd be pretty dramatic. But, you know, the culture over in the UK with pubs and stuff like that,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
We'll see.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to mess with the pints anytime over there anytime soon. So that would be, man, that'd be an entire culture getting decimated at that point. So,
absolutely.
All right. So there we go. Those are our pulse items for this week, this month. Again, as always, check out the show notes, check out the links, follow along. If you have ideas for the pulse, please send those to us. We'd love to hear.
Yes, we can riff on anything. We can
riff on. I would love if people would send something. Hey, I'd like to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this. We'd be happy to take it on because Dean and I spend a lot of time accumulating this stuff and putting these together.
Yep.
Before I talk more about that, though, let's talk quickly about what's happening around BlueStar Nation.
Yes.
Dean has been cheating on the BlueStar Nation with another podcast. Did you know?
I was invited. I don't know. Is it cheating if you get invited? Like, am I going to say no?
There's a whole semantic argument we could go down right there. That sounds like something you'd say in front of Congress, you know?
It depends on what the word is.
But okay, fine. It's another podcast that we highly respect.
We do.
It's Jim Roddy's RSPA Trusted Advisor Pod.
Yeah.
Dean appeared with our Power President, Jamie Interdonato. Is that how you say the name?
Yes.
Am I getting that correct? Yep. To discuss the 2026 RSPA Retail IT Channel KPI study, which we always try to get out there to folks and promote well.
Yep.
It's always a fascinating look at what retail VARs and ISVs are saying about the industry, the technology, how the market's progressing. Were there any interesting nuggets or talking points that you want to share out or tease?
Oh my gosh. Well, so the VAR is back, I think was one of them. Oh man, I'd have to open up my notes a little bit because, you know, there's obviously some concern about how the VARs are making money and is there still a world for it? Yes. The answer to that was yes. There's some concern around how how POS resellers are making money and really kind of relying on payments. And there's some shift going on there. We got into soft pause. So yeah, there's quite a few good takes on there. Yeah. Good. It's worth a listen.
That's a good tease
definitely
right
worth
there.
A listen.
All right. Well, check out Dean on the Trusted Advisor Pod at the link in our show notes or go watch on the RSPA's YouTube page.
Yes.
While you're doing that, before you head over there, take a moment to like and subscribe to our page.
Absolutely.
Like this video, leave us a comment. If you're listening to the audio only, if there's an opportunity to leave a rating or review for the pod, please take a quick second and do that. Actually, just went a couple weeks ago and did that with some of my favorite podcasts that I hadn't reviewed yet. I went in and just went on Apple Podcasts, left some reviews, left some 5-star ratings. It really actually is very good for shows. It helps, kind of grow the audience. Yep. It gets them shoved up algorithms and recommendations for folks. Yep. So please take a quick moment to do that. I'd love to see some of those reviews as well. I'd be happy to shout some out on the podcast that we see some good ones coming in there. Check out our BlueStar Nation blog. We're always doing amazing stuff over there. I know we have another episode about healthcare from the recent healthcare survey. We've got some friends at Honeywell that are going to come on the pod and talk about that soon. We're hoping to get that scheduled for you soon and discuss that one. Again, send your ideas into us, not just for the poll stuff, but just what do you want to hear about on this show? What can we be talking about? What kind of guests do you want us to bring on? So reach out to us. You can always find us on the BlueStar LinkedIn page. Leave comments there or email us directly, nation@bluestarinc.com. All right, Dean, let's wrap up with a little bit of what's on your radar.
Yes.
Which is basically just us doing another poll stop.
I got a small one for you.
All right,
yeah.
Let's hear it.
But one that's in your wheelhouse that I think you'll appreciate. I wanted to get your take on this. Here's the headline. Pittsburgh Pirates sign 19-year-old shortstop
Konnor
Griffin to $140 million contract less than 1 week after his MLB debut. The largest ever deal for a baseball rookie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which will probably be eclipsed by another rookie.
I'm sure it will be.
Let's be honest.
I'm sure it will be.
Let's be
honest. But man, that is just jaw-dropping to, I guess to me, it was just how young this kid is.
Yeah.
The fact that the Pittsburgh Pirates are throwing, I mean, for that organization, that's a lot of money. They're like the Reds, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have the deep pockets of LA and New York and blah, blah, blah.
So they also have like pretty much one of the two best pitchers in Paul Skeens on the team as well, who they also threw. Actually, I don't know if they have thrown him a long-term contract yet.
Well, okay, so so they're making, I mean, just to make a bet on a 19-year-old, I mean, the only thing that I can think of that's, I don't know, and I don't know that it's a good analogy, but now that we're running into the Derby, the Kentucky Derby, when you buy a horse, sometimes you are investing in something that you have no idea if it's actually going to pan out. And I'm not saying this kid's not going to pan out, but 19-year-old, that's kind of young. Yeah. Obviously, the kid's uber talented. Oh, yeah. I'm not saying that. I mean,
he's come out of the gate doing really well too.
And we at the Reds have our own Saul Stewart, who's 22, so he's not that much, but he didn't get that kind of a contract.
Yeah,
Saul Stewart is going to be around for a while.
I feel like we need to back up a truck for him.
We definitely need to. Well, I think he's proven himself in the last. The kid can hit, and he's got a great ethic. So I don't know. So what's your take? It's just the age, the amount of money, and the fact that the Pirates. To your point, they're going to have to throw a lot of money at two people.
It's unusual to see someone that young, obviously getting that, and obviously, honestly, it's unusual to see someone that young breaking into the majors this quickly. That does not happen.
It doesn't.
Bryce Harper did it. He got drafted straight out of high
not even
school.
Griffey Jr. Did he have to go? He had to go through.
I think he spent he was pretty young.
I know he went to college.
But he spent his time in the minors. And I mean, there are some players that are obviously generational type players that are able to either get drafted right out of high school or very quickly make their major league debut and not spend a lot of time in the minors. And again, to your point, yes, Konnor Griffin has looked great out of the gate. It seems like he could be a generational talent. I think he was the number one prospect coming into this year, I assume. Yeah. If not, he was top 3 or 4 or something, probably.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the expectation is clearly there, for him, and he may very well justify it. But to your point, that's because it's happened before where people throw a lot of money at someone and then they have maybe like one great season or look good out of the gate and then just kind of fall on their face. I feel
bad for small organizations like the Pirates and the Reds that really kind of have to make these gambles because how else are we going to stay relevant,
That's true. Here's the other part of the equation here, though, probably that is influencing this and a lot of other big contracts that have been thrown around the last couple of years is that baseball is getting ready to head into a very, very contentious labor discussion this offseason.
Is it next year? Okay,
yeah. It'll be coming this offseason. There's a chance there's a small chance there's not even a baseball season next year at this point, or a very delayed start, a big lockout situation, and it's because the collective bargaining agreement is coming up again, and this time the owners are putting a salary cap on the table, which has been popular in other sports. Football is notable for this, and the fans, I think, are kind of on board with this because, again, for us on a mid-market team like the Reds, Pirates fans,
it's crushing.
It is crushing to see teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets go out. And granted, that doesn't always work. Ask the Mets right now. The Mets are in a tailspin, and they have the second biggest payroll in baseball.
That's fair.
But, however, there are teams that you see just throwing obscene amounts of money out there, buying every good player that ever shows up on the market, building super teams, guaranteeing themselves postseason spots. Yes, baseball is definitely a sport where anything can happen in the postseason and any team can become a World Series champ. However, there's some teams that basically get to quite literally start on third base every season.
That's right.
And the expectation that they're making it to the playoffs and are World Series contenders.
Yeah, exactly.
And I am more than happy for it to be time for other teams to have their shot at that.
But you think that's going to be contentious enough that
I
it's
think
going to
that will be
contentious
because the players don't want that.
Yeah,
which I get because they're the ones getting these massive, huge. I mean, you look at the Shohei Ohtanis of the world who got what
700 million,
700 million, and they're deferring a lot of that. There's a lot of shady things they're doing in order to still have
that contract was worth more than 5 years of the Reds' payroll.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like come on,
it's insane, it's obscene.
Yeah,
and I think because baseball is also a sport that is very much waning in the U.S., it has fallen behind football, basketball, I think even hockey is starting to really creep up on baseball in popularity in the U.S.
So anyway,
and if you want to keep that sport alive, I think there has to be a little bit of parity. So I think that's probably why you're seeing stars like Konnor Griffin get these massive deals. Now, maybe I don't know if it's like a grandfather thing before potentially that comes and happens in the future, getting these people paid before they can. But the other part of that, though, is that I do think these mid-market teams, unfortunately, if they don't get these guys as quickly as possible, because here's the problem. Let's say Konnor Griffin is everything he's expected.
Exactly.
If, let's say you wait another, because I'm sure he's under team control or would have been under team control for 3 or 4 or 5 years potentially as it is. But let's say you wait 2 or 3 years and he's just consistently getting bigger, better.
This is the situation we're in with Ellie De La Cruz, but go ahead.
Exactly. Then you've got a superstar on your hands who is basically a lock to, when they become a free agent, go out and get a $300, $400, $500 million deal.
Completely unaffordable.
With, again, one of those giant teams that your team could never afford.
Completely unaffordable.
To your point, we are probably facing that with Ellie.
Yeah.
So why not lock them in sooner?
No, I get it.
When they are unproven and they can't demand that massive contract.
That's right.
Because they haven't proven themselves.
Yeah. So it's a gamble.
I do think that's what the Reds should be doing with Sal Stewart.
Probably.
He clearly looks like someone, again, it could blow up in our faces, but I would rather blow up in our face and make an attempt, and then to
know what's going to happen.
To watch him in 5 years march off and go play for the Dodgers,
like De La Cruz is going to.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so it is an interesting commentary. Anyway,
we could
there's your headline. We could. Yeah. I knew that would get you going.
Like you movies and baseball in the same podcast, like. You're triggering all my stuff there. Yeah.
So what's on your radar?
So let's talk about the weather, which is something that could ruin a good baseball game from time to time, or ruin your day, and more importantly, improving local weather forecasts. Because I don't know about you, but every time I open up my weather app and check out what's going to happen, it says 2% chance of rain. I'm like, great, and then it pours half the day. Or it says there's going to be a 80% chance of rain, and so I cancel my plans. I don't do the things, and it's sunny or a little bit cloudy and rains maybe for 20 minutes or something.
Is there an answer?
Well, there's an attempt at an answer. And really part of the problem here is that many reports and forecast models are coming from stations typically around airports. So usually airports have a weather station in set up in them, which makes sense because they need it obviously for air travel and for monitoring flights and whatnot. But a lot of people in the country don't live near major airports. And so basically this particular article I was looking at it has like a really cool map that notes areas of the country that live more than 20 miles or more from an airport that has a weather station.
Okay.
Now, here in our region, that's not quite as problematic. Although, honestly, like right where we are here in Hebron, Kentucky, if you go just a little bit south, you have a lot of green until you start getting it, closer to like the Lexington and Louisville areas.
Oh, for
There's
sure.
a good chunk of area there that is not living near a major airport. When you look out west, like this particular map, like here on the eastern side, there's spots of green. There's patches that get a little bigger here and there.
Okay.
But as you head west, that green starts getting a lot more. There's a lot more massive patches of areas that live nowhere near major airports and therefore do not have access to weather information that is actually local. This particular article was actually written by somebody who is working at trying to build out the weather reporting infrastructure. And his tagline for this was basically all weather is local. Like any weather is supposed to be local. It's supposed to be about you and about where you are. And the models that they are trying to build off of just don't necessarily work when you get outside of certain radiuses. So what they're trying to do is they're working with a lot of states and universities to create what they call mesonets or mesonets. How that's supposed to be, how that's actually supposed to be said. Which stands for, it's short for mesoscale or mesoscale networks, meaning intermediate scale. So these are little smaller units that can be deployed in a lot of different spaces to gather information, gather air pressure, temperatures, moisture, all that kind of stuff.
I like it.
They're going out to try to set them up like in farms, open spaces that again are remote, that are away from cities and airports, and basically just continue to try to just get more data, more information at a more localized level so that when you're getting your reports, you're getting it from a little more of a localized area. Now, I'm someone like I use Apple's weather app for the most part. Which now this was distressing me because my favorite weather app used to be Dark Skies. Did you ever use Dark Skies?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was even
until Apple bought it.
Dark Skies was a paid app even too, and I was more than happy to pay for it because it was. I thought it was ridiculously accurate. I thought it was very up to date. It was very telling of when like rain was going to start or what the forecast was going to be temperature wise with stuff. And then Apple bought and consumed it into their weather app. And I'm sorry, I don't know why. You bought this thing, but you clearly didn't bring the best parts of it over. Because their app still does not work quite as well as that.
It doesn't.
So I'm someone who sometimes I'll go in there and if the weather's different, I'm sitting to report in. I'll be like, I'm reporting like, nope, there's heavy snow going on right now. You saying there's nothing here. So maybe weather forecasting will finally start getting a little bit better in the future. Oh. And
maybe you are the mesonet or mesonet.
I am the mesonet for Union, Kentucky. Making sure that the local weather,
your feedback
in my area, exactly. It doesn't seem to do anything. They don't seem to change anything. Lies, deceptions. I'm bringing back a little Star Wars podcast.
There you go.
There. All right, so that is stuff. What's on our radar. That is our pulse this week. So if you're in a hardworking city, go see a movie.
There you go.
Go to the mall. Take some time off. Tell the Gen Z in your life about rotary phones, using atlases. If you're in the UK, start hoarding some cigarettes out of the trunk of your car.
No doubt.
The boot of your car.
Or the bonnet,
the bonnet's the front, right?
That's the front.
Bonnet's the front, the boot's the back. And we'll see you out there in the nation.